Hey guys, it's Ralf with Stray Benzes. Today I've got a mini episode of how to fix your cruise control amplifier with a couple of different parts, and that is what that thing looks like, or the new ones with the code block in it. And I cover also how to change the capacitors. There are a couple of them. A couple of the ones that are usually the trouble. And, well, here we go.
All right, here's how you get the electronics out of the amplifier itself. Here's one that has the newer variety that has the code plug in the back here, but they're all the same. You need to get this tab here, this tab, this tab, and this tab. You need to pry this back with a screwdriver. And here's the older style amplifier that doesn't have the code plug, but he already did the prying away from it, and you can simply take out the board, the circuit board. Here you have to do this the next job. You have to eliminate the lacquer. I'm not quite sure if you can see the how shiny some of this stuff is, and it stops right there. You can see the transition. This is lacquer that the factory put on there to protect this from moisture. Here you can take acetone. I've found acetone works best in eliminating the lacquer, because the lacquer will definitely get in the way of you resoldering all the different joints back here, the soldering joints, because that's one of two problem areas. The other area is usually the capacitors. Here, a couple of those. On the older boards, I'm going to show you how to change the capacitors on the newer board. You will need a couple of new ones that I'm going to show you in a sec, of the variety that you need. There are a couple of axial and radial ones on there, but I can show you the ones that you can get, and even the source where you can get them. Or if you don't feel comfortable doing this, I have another a friendly person that does this for you. But here, like the three main variety, and you need two each of those. Hold on. Here's this one, and this one. You need the big ones at 22. There's 22 microfarad. Then there's this one here at 10. And here should be one at 2.2. So you have these three different varieties that you need two each of in order to fix your cruise control amplifier. And then I'll dive in how exactly to change these three. Again, the smaller ones on the boards are usually axial ones, which means the wires come out on one each either side, and these are so-called radial ones. You can go ahead and do this. You must absolutely not mix up the polarity. It's really important that on this one, for instance, here, this side right there, that is the positive. That is the negative. the negative side right there. So the shorter ones is the negative, and on the board you have to pay attention to positive and negative, otherwise you screw up the polarity and your board won't work. So here we go. We'll dive into the board next.
Here are the three capacitor sets that you need: the large, medium, and small. That's where they are located on the board of the newer variety circuit boards, and you also will need a pair of pliers and tweezers. Helpful is a small little tool called a vacuum desoldering pump. It is really helpful in trying to get the solder out of those solder joints holding the capacitors in place. Use your soldering iron to heat up the soldering joints, and use the small little vacuum pump to get rid of the solder in these joints. You do that one after the other, and you might have to repeat it a couple of times and trying to get them to give up the small little wire that is holding the capacitors in place on the circuit board. There you go. There's one more. Need to be really hot. It might take a couple of tries trying to get them to give up all this extra solder. Otherwise, removal of the capacitors is going to be almost impossible, at least difficult. And you certainly don't want to damage the circuit board either. Oh, another one. Come on, here we go. Next one. Once you've got that, you turn the board around. Use the pliers or tweezers to get the old capacitor out of the board. Be really careful. There we go. Might take a little bit. There it is. Now the next ones, here are the big ones, or next bigger size ones. These are the axial capacitors. Remove one after the other, then you shape the new capacitor wires in such a way that you can put them into the respective holes in the circuit board. Make absolutely certain that the polarity is spot on where they used to be on the old ones. Those smaller pliers come in really handy. There you go. There's the next one. Take the smaller side cutters, trim the wires to size, and you're ready to use solder to solder the new capacitors in place. There you go. Next one. One more. There you are. Yeah, next ones. We're almost there with the vast majority of them. Next one. We do that with the smaller ones, mid-size, and the large ones. The largest ones are the ones with the radial connections. So they're probably the easiest to make fit. The other ones require a little bit of making adjustments on the board. Make sure that you use electrical solder. There you go. Heat those solder joints up properly, because otherwise you might end up with a cold one, and those tend to break and give you issues later on. So, all done. Here you see the old ones, and the new ones all soldered in place. Here's a quick comparison. The old one is at 12 microfarad, which is about 20% more than the new one. I have the 10 that this is supposed to be right there. I'm using the capacitor function of the multimeter, and you'll see that the value slowly but surely goes up, takes a little bit, and there we go. And we should stop at 10, right around 10, no more, no less. Slow, there we go. Almost 10 on the money, and because if those capacitors are old, they function, they leak fluid, they just don't have the right values anymore, and they give you all kinds of sort of trouble because their values are off and electricity flows through them differently than they're supposed to. Here's a person that can fix the unit if you don't want to. Once you have resoldered all the soldering points, you put the circuit board back into the aluminum housing, and then you push back the tabs that you had opened it originally to get the electronics out, to make sure that it's not loose, and then you can reinstall it into your car. I do recommend that before you crank up the car, you check the actuator, the cruise control actuator under the hood. And there's another video on the channel as well that you can look at to see how to do that, because otherwise you might just fry your newly refurbished board, and your cruise control still might not work. So happy wrenching, and as always, don't do as I did, because I moved up many a thing before I tried to fix it the correct way. So here's a video that hopefully will help you. Take care, and give me a thumbs up, share, and maybe you have some topics that you want to see me cover next. Take care, and happy wrenching.